Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Desteni I Process live Google Hangout. My name is Anna Briggs Thompson, and at the moment we're
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, did we lose?
our perspectives and our realizations that we have gained from walking the Desteni I process and walking with Desteni and the Desteni tools. If you don't know what Desteni is or what the Desteni I process is, once the video is uploaded, you can see all the links that we'll be talking about in the video description on YouTube to the Hangout.
Anna?
Yeah?
You cut off for 1 minute. You were explaining about you're able to explain about the Desteni I process. From before that, yeah.
Oh, okay. So welcome once again to the Desteni I Process live Google Hangout. I'm not really sure where I cut off, but I was saying that we're here every Thursday. We have been for the past year, sharing our insights and realizations that we've gained from walking with Desteni and in the Desteni I process. If you don't know what Desteni is, you can take a look in the description for the links after the video is uploaded on our YouTube channel. And before we start, I have to make the disclaimer because we're making a series about physical body and physical body support. But we are not here in any professional capacity. We're not doctors or psychiatrists or anything. So if you do have a medical issue, we suggest that you do seek out a doctor or a physician because we're simply here in a personal capacity sharing our experiences and our insights. So the topic of today is quite a big thing in most people's lives, in many people's lives. It has to do with the whole face and the self-image. So we decided to call it skin, teeth, and hair because those three features are usually what people tend to place a lot of emphasis on, having good, white-looking, clean teeth and having nice hair and having a perfect skin. And a lot of people are struggling if they experience that these features do not live up to standards. And so what we're going to do in this Hangout is that we're going to share our realizations and insights, as well as share the struggles that we've gone through and how we've supported ourselves to walk through it through using the Desteni I process tools. And to discuss this topic, we've invited Yogan from the US. Hi, Yogan.
Hello, everyone.
And we have Blaž with us from Slovenia. Hey, Blaž.
Hello, everybody.
All right, guys, so let's get into it. Could you start by sharing a little bit about your experiences with this topic of skin, teeth, and hair, and how that's something you've struggled with in your own life in relation to self-image and physical appearances? Yogan, let's start with you.
Sure. So throughout my life, I've always been a person who believed and thought he had really great hair, and many people have told me that throughout my life. And I would always take very good care of my hair, wash it with both shampoo and conditioner, even though I found out, suppose later on, most guys don't use conditioner. But I grew up using that, and so I've had very, like I said. So, from my general life experience, I just want to share this one point, how when I was younger in second grade, I had a bad haircut, and I literally was crying in the barber shop in the Supercuts, and I was scared like how it would look bad, and what the kids in my school would say, and what would people say to me, because throughout my whole life I did have long hair, like how I have it about now, even a little bit longer. I had long hair growing up. I had a mushroom haircut, and so I never had short hair. And so I was afraid of losing that image, of losing, who would I be without long hair? Who would I be without, my hair? It turned out that in my classroom, a lot of people actually said they liked my hair. But even though I had that experience, I still, throughout my life, felt that resistance, felt that fear. And I still maintained my hair going through most of my life.
So would you say that these positive comments actually had like an adverse effect, that actually made you more anxious about your hair and like fearing to
Yes.
lose it because you are valued because of your hair, or you
Yeah,
experienced it as
I
so?
wasn't valued by who I am as a person. You know, I was valued by my hair, which is just one part, one aspect of who I am. And even all the women that I've dated have all told me how they liked my hair, but I don't really remember them telling me that they liked me for how I am or how I was as a person, my presence, as a person. And so for me, so yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
And cool, thanks for sharing, Jürgen. And how about you, Blash? What struggles have you gone through in your life in relation to this teeth, hair, and skin issues?
Yeah, so throughout my childhood, I had quite a bad self-image. It was like um, missing. Uh, it was pertaining to many parts of my body, not just my head. Like, for example, I thought I had very too big ears, um, or a strangely shaped head, or that I was not walking straight. So I had many problems with self-image and how I saw myself, but particularly about hair and my face. That was I I started to notice more how I am, how my hair is, and how other people are. Well, let me just say it this way: when I was in high school, the other kids in the classroom and other people started to care about more how their hair look, and what kind of stuff they use and what kind of image they want to present. So it was like in high school when I really started to you know look at my hair and thinking about, okay, so how should I make my hair to be cool, and um, so it was mostly about my hair and my big ears. I didn't have so much problems without my teeth with my teeth because I had a fairly straight teeth. I did wear a bracelet, but I didn't really like it because it was very annoying to wear it. So I stopped wearing it before I should, But I didn't care so much about my teeth, more about my hair, for example, because I have like curly hair and I can't really brush it. I couldn't brush it the way I wanted it to, and so it was just messed up hair. So that was kind of the points I was dealing with.
You know how Jochen was explaining how his relationship to his hair in part came from other people commenting on it. Did you find the same with this point with having big ears and an oddly shaped head? Was that something that came from other people making comments about it?
Yeah, I remember that some members of my family sometimes like made a joke about my big ears, and I mean they really didn't mean anything bad, but uh, after they said that for like many times, I then started to judge myself and compare myself. Do I really have big ears, or why they are not normal? Why are they pointing out this? And then I started to observe other people and their ears and how they look, and so I just started to compare myself and then judge myself and feel inferior to others because I imagine that I am not as pretty as others are, as far as my ears go, for example.
Right, I can relate to that a lot. And you know what I find fascinating is that we grow up as children. Of course, for some people, it might even come very early in life. I don't know how old you were, but I have two moles here on my cheeks. And I was maybe 8 or 9 years old when a schoolmate started teasing me about it. And really, those big moles and like and I had never considered them before. You know, of course I've seen that I have them, but I've never put any value on it as being good or bad or wrong. And then suddenly this feature became highlighted as though it was this thing that stood out, and like almost like I was disfigured or disformed in some way. And it goes to show how much other people's comments can affect us, and also when you make comments like the people in your family, you know, that from their perspective it might have been like, you know, loving teasing, oh blah, she has big ears, but until then you were just you, and suddenly it's like all these parts, you know, it's like we start splitting ourselves up in these parts, and start analyzing, and like you were saying, looking at other people's ears, and it becomes this huge issue, which is obviously entirely unnecessary. Did you want to make a comment on that, Jürgen?
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary. That's pretty funny that we do that.
Yeah, and people even go to the extent of, like, for instance, with me with the moles, when I was like a teenager, I considered having them removed because it was so horrible and so ugly, you know. I mean, and these are even like quite normal. Like having big ears is normal. Having moles is normal.
Yeah.
So
I have one little,
Sorry, go for it.
I have one little mole right here next to my eye.
Oh my God.
But no one can see it, I suppose. So no one has ever commented on that.
No, I can't see it. But you saw it. You noticed
Yeah,
it.
it's fine. Like, it's just there. You know, it's part of my body. It's just always been there.
So guys, we have a question from Carrie, and I'd like to also discuss how being obsessed with your hair or with your skin, how that has, like, what are the consequences it had for your life? Because many people, like we've talked about before the Hangout started, see these, like, I will call them obsessions and paranoia as being completely normal. And like we talked about, it's even seen as though if you don't obsess about your hair or your skin or your teeth, it's like you're sloppy or there's something wrong with you. So that would be very cool to discuss. But first, here's a question from Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
So she's asking, have you found that people respond to you differently depending on how your hair is styled or cut? So let's go to you first, Jürgen.
When I stopped maintaining my hair, it would become greasy, and particularly my father, and mainly my father would tell me how greasy my hair is, and that's always what he would say to me every single time he would see it. Although I already made the conscious decision not to like shampoo my hair as often, so I was doing it consciously, so I was aware, so I wasn't really reacting. So that's one example of that for Carrie.
And how about you, Blash? Because you were telling us about how you had this very big curly hair, and now we see that you're shaved. So have you experienced different comments or responses from people in that change of your haircut?
Yes, well, everyone who knew me commented when I changed something about my hair, my looks. So that's, I would say that is mostly pertaining to the people who know you from before, and then they notice a change, and so they make comments about it. So when just before I cut my hair like this, I had quite a long hair, like this long. So it was quite a big change, and I remember how my mother reacted and my father. You know, they were the ones who I'd say disliked it the most, because I don't know. I guess they always knew me with hair, and they thought, okay, what's this change now? What does this mean? Did you? I don't know. They were kind of scared. You know, what this change means. You know, why did I just cut my hair off? So of course it has influence on how people perceive you. You know. So, but it is mainly about how, I mean, when you change something about your looks, then you can really see how what other people's judgments are about certain looks, because then they speak about them, you know. But we usually always take that personally and think, okay, I am now, if he says that my hair is messy and not good looking, then that is so, but that's just how they perceive it. So that's something that I realized, and it really helps to not care so much what other people think about how I look.
It's quite fascinating, this point with what you were saying about your parents and how it's like they reacted as though you suddenly were a different person. And it goes to show also in relation to what Jürgen was saying about people valuing him for his hair, how much symbolic value we put into, I would say, especially the hair. And like it's almost like you're identified by your hair. And as a female, I find that it might be even more so, which I experienced a couple of years back when I shaved my head. And not only would everyone stare at me on the street, and I also experienced that like people would react very strongly to it. But something I experienced very significantly was that from that day, it was like a cut happened where before I would be in this, according to the male's perception, I would be in this pool of, you know, a woman that you look at as a sexual object in some extent or another. And when I shaved my head, that was just gone. It was like a completely different world. Like people would, like I didn't exist anymore. Like I belonged to a different category of people all of a sudden. And I know that this is something that you've also reflected on, Jürgen, in relation to this point. Do you want to share about that?
Wait, what specifically? If you had a specific...
You were talking about before we started the hangout in relation to females valuing you because of your hair.
Yes, yes. Well, also, I guess, yeah, I'll just say it then. I also shaved my hair before, and I noticed how everyone, also the same points you guys share, exact same points, like, you know, it's like I was a different person. And I remember every time I would meet a new person, like let's say my grandma or someone, I would immediately start laughing because I already knew what reaction they were going to do. They'd be like, oh my God, and it's just so funny. I was just laughing so much inside. But so yeah, then later on when I let my hair grow again, how they also started saying like, oh, I love your hair so much better this way. And then
it's so nice to have you back the way that we see you in our minds.
Yeah.
Right.
So with the women point, well, one thing I shared before the hangout was how, as a guy, I looked at women, and one of the things I looked at was their hair. And so I noticed how, even with one particular woman, I'm remembering now, how it was just because her hair, one of the main reasons I was attracted to her. And when she got a haircut, that sort of almost lessened like how I felt. You know, this energy I felt, I was resonating within me. Then when she got the haircut, it was sort of like, it sort of disappeared or went away. Because her hair was what was triggering that within me, that experience of, you know, of excitement, of energy. And so also when people would tell me about my hair, I'd also feel very energetic too, and I would feel good. And it was just all about the whole starting point, the whole triggers for the reasons why I entered in these relationships were very superficial, it turned out. And I, you know, and that was sort of the result, and that's why, you know, they sort of fell, because there was nothing substantial there really.
So that is a consequence to this participating
Yes.
in this pattern. What other consequences have you guys experienced? Also in terms of the self-abuse aspect, we could say that when we have this paranoia and obsession with our appearances, the lengths that we will go to maintain it. Is that something you guys have experienced? How about you, Blash?
Well, when I started to judge myself and my hair, then I started to, you know, buy different shampoos to try and make my hair soft and nice, and you know, in terms of abusing myself, I would say that, you know, it was, I mean, most of the people wouldn't say that I was abusing myself, but in self-honesty, I was really hard on myself about judging myself, just how I looked. You know, when I was walking down the street, I always looked in the windows, in the mirrors, you know, and look and, you know, compare myself. Do I look good? How do I look? How do others see me? Oh no, my hair is not perfect. I'm, you know, etc., etc. So I was mostly abusing myself that way, you know, by judging myself constantly and being insecure and inferior to, you know, how I perceive myself in comparison to others.
Yeah,
So
that's a very important point. And maybe also that many people don't realize, like you're saying, that internal conflict and self-judgment is actually a form of self-abuse. How about you, Yogan? What consequences have you experienced?
Most recently, a few weeks ago, well, I work within a business, and something that my parents were saying to me was how yellow my teeth were. And so I whitened them using those homemade kits. Now I sort of regret the point because I would rather be who I am as a person and be the reason why clients really work for me. So I really would want to push that point. And for me, even I experienced a bit of confusion at this point because really it's like all I have is just the judgments of my two parents who told me how yellow my teeth were. And I can't really say or know for sure how everyone else in the world will look at my teeth and what they would say. And really it's how it's really their personal point, but I made it as if, you know, what if people are going to look at my teeth and, you know, I'm working with someone, a client, and then they're going to see my teeth and therefore they're not going to work with me anymore, you know. So saying that aloud, I see how silly the point is because that's like such a small point in relation to working with someone in any capacity, how their teeth look, that, you know, that wouldn't really be a reason why someone wouldn't work with you or why someone want to, you know. And if it isn't, it's really superficial, so I would even know how far that relationship would even go if it really would stop there.
I would say that a point to consider there is that unfortunately we are in a world system, in a reality where people do judge based on first impressions, and they might not even be conscious about it, that they will create a resistance towards someone because of such a point of judgment. Exactly, if they've grown up with learning that yellow teeth is so bad. So I would say that it's definitely something you can do as a point of self-support. Of course, if the teeth whitening isn't, you know, doing something bad for your teeth, but then at the same time, it's, you know, doing it for practical reasons, in realizing, okay, I'm in this world system. I cannot move if I don't present myself in the way that is acceptable. It's not ideal. It would be better if everyone could just be themselves, but that's simply not the case at the moment. And especially because we're talking about business and work. Like I would say, if it was a personal relationship, it would be different. So we have a question, or we have a comment from Malin. And she was saying, in relation to what I was saying before about shaving my head, she says, I have a shaved head. I've had people pondering whether I will have my hair grow when my boyfriend asks for it, which is fascinating how hair is linked to sexuality as a woman and how having none is as if you're suddenly dry for that, which is ludicrous. Yes, absolutely. And I would say, and even for guys, it can be a very cool exercise to do and see for yourself also how much symbolic value and identification that you've placed in your hair. And it is quite ludicrous, to say the least. So Malin, thanks for your comment. All right, guys, so I'd like to talk a little bit about how the consumerist system is actually supporting this paranoia and obsession with having good-looking teeth and hair and skin. How is that something that you guys have experienced in your own life? Blas, do you want to go?
yeah, sure. When I think that the most influence on people, you know, have the television and magazines and movie stars who are, you know, presented in this, who are presented as some ideal of how, of what good-looking person should look like, you know. So then we are constantly bombarded with these pictures on the commercials and television and magazines and everywhere, where people are just like perfectly modeled and corrected with computers, and you know, them just constantly being there. Okay, this is perfect, and this is not so perfect, and so you start to compare yourself with what you're looking at, you know, with commercials and magazines and TV stars and whatnot. And so it's really hard actually not to start compare yourself if you live in such a society where you're constantly bombarded with ideas and ideals about what is good looking and what is not. So if you're not aware of this point that you actually don't have to ever start doing this, then you just start doing it because everyone else is doing it, you know? So.
Absolutely. Would you agree with that, Jürgen?
Yes. I remember that I would see actors in movies and TV shows who had the kind of hair that I wanted to have. So in a way, I sort of try to copy that or imitate that. And I saw that point many times in different movies, how let's say the handsome man has very soft, very clean, very flowy hair, almost like a woman's hair. And so I saw that point as well. And as well, also everyone who is an actor, who is a TV host, who in movies, in commercials, news anchors, essentially anyone who has to, you know, be in front of millions of people, they all use their hair products and skin products and makeup and teeth products to make that image. And we as all the rest of us, the millions of people, see that, and it just supports and ingrains that point further within us. Yeah.
Yeah. What I would also say, because when I was doing some research for this hangout, and I came by a series of photos, images that showed celebrities before and after teeth repair or teeth, how can you say, implants, basically. And you were seeing some of these really famous people. One of them that was quite significant was Tom Cruise. I don't actually know if it was a photoshopped image because it was quite extreme. But apparently before he became famous, he had these like extremely crooked teeth. And then you see him after where he has these like perfect teeth. And what I see that does is that when we're moving about in our world, and we don't realize how many of these images are bombarding us everywhere, in the media, on the street, on billboards, on advertisements, and we see all these seemingly perfect people, and do not consider the secret dimension behind that of how, like you were saying, Jürgen, either they had their appearances altered physically, or the images are actually so photoshopped that it's not even, you can't even consider it to be a real person. And then, like you were saying, Blas, that is then what we compare ourselves up against. And something that I noticed, for example, as an example of this, is how women in TV, in movies, and in advertisements, they always have very long hair. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that they use these extensions, because it isn't actually a lot of people in this world that can grow hair all the way down your back. But then, because you don't know that, or because I didn't know that, and no one tells you, and it's not something that we discuss with other people, I can only grow my hair till here, and I would then consider myself to be less than, like there's something wrong with me, like I'm flawed, when in fact most of the women probably have the exact same hair, whereas that standard image we're bombarded with isn't even real, it's hair extensions. So I find that quite revealing.
It's cool, yeah. Very cool.
Okay, so let's talk about solutions and how you guys have supported yourself. But before we do that, we have quite an interesting question from Sylvia. And she says, I've known people who dislike their teeth, and they come to a point where showing their teeth while speaking and laughing becomes unacceptable. Would you say that you can develop would you say that you can develop different personalities to cope with this body image?
It's interesting that she uses the word personality and the word cope. I would say that some people may develop a personality to cope with their body image, and maybe cope with how they feel inside and the kind of reactions they have that resonates according to what people either say to them or maybe what they think to themselves. I think more a question that isn't asked so often is how to really work through this point in a practical manner. Like Anna was suggesting with business, how you're to really look at your situation and maybe see that your situation may require you to adjust your physical body appearance, and also maybe look at maybe you're not in that situation, and to sort of really look how even if you may change your looks on the outside, how you feel and how you think, your starting point will still be the same. Meaning, like with me, even though I received compliments throughout my whole life for my hair, I still had a fear of getting a bad haircut every time I would go get a haircut.
Right.
So I would still, so even let's say if I was the most beautiful, perfect looking person in the world, I would still be afraid of losing that, of losing my age, when you get older, your skin, everything. So there's definitely a process to walk with yourself, and the practical points of changing your appearance is just that's more of a single point to work with. So they're sort of independent to look at.
Something I could imagine if I had this thing with teeth and it became such a paranoia that I wouldn't show my teeth, I could see how it could, that you could develop this personality, for example, of saying, oh, but I prefer being alone, or, well, I'm a loner, so it's okay if I don't go out and meet people, or maybe say, oh, well, I don't laugh because I'm a serious person. I don't want to have fun. So you find these ways of actually justifying this paranoia and how you've, in your mind, you cope with this, this horrible feature when that isn't actually a real solution, and maybe you end up just isolating yourself. Okay, go ahead. Go for it, Blas.
Yeah, I can also I see how we can develop different personalities when we try to look good, and then we mimic other people from TV or commercials or whatever, and then we actually develop these different ways of expressing ourselves, like how we stand and how we look. And some people say, oh no, if you're going to take a picture me from the right side because it looks better. Or,
I can relate to that.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's not a good side.
Then when we then integrate this into our behavior, and we don't even notice it anymore. For example, how we walk, because we want we want to look cool when we walk, for example, and then
like walk like a gangster, like some guys do.
So we can definitely have many personalities about how we want to present ourselves.
Absolutely. Guys, we don't have so much time left, so let's jump straight into the solutions and how you guys have supported yourself through the Desteni tools. And we have a question about that here from Carrie. And she asks, how did you go about getting into understanding how appearance is everything in the world, and how were you able to face this fact, see your responsibility within it, and see yourself through the challenge?
Well, my personal journey, it really boils down to identifying what feeling or what emotion I was experiencing. I noticed how it sort of vibrates within me, and with relation to hair, it was definitely like a fear resonance, and through identifying that, I look at all the memories of all those moments where I experienced that related to my whatever may be my hair, my face, my eyes, my mole and my back, whatever it was related to. And through seeing that and making those connections, I see how it existed throughout my life, and I see it throughout my whole life. So I look back to my earliest memories, and so I see that, and then I can see this is what I've lived, this is how I've lived, and through the understanding, it allows me to let it go through forgiveness.
Very cool, Jürgen. And how about you, Blas? How have you supported yourself to walk through this struggle with your self-image and appearance?
Yeah. Well, I started to ask myself questions. How do I judge myself, and why do I see myself as inferior? How do I see my hair, or does it really? Is it just me who am, who is, that I am the one who is making up all these points that I presume are important, or are really others, uh, or is it really important how my hair is, or is it just me making it important? So, I mean, there obviously are points where, like we discussed before, when you have to have, I don't know, certain looks because of the job, because of other people expect you to, but you can really, I mean, I started to understand that I don't really, even if others expect of me to have, I don't know, certain looks, I don't have to really make a big deal of it. Like, I would just go and have hair done, or have certain clothes on, because I would understand that others expect that, but it really doesn't make any difference for me. I wouldn't feel any different anymore if I would, go to work with my everyday pants or whatever, But I mean, how I started to deal with this point of looks is when I actually decided that I'm going to shave my hair off, And so that was like really big point for me, because when I did it, I really saw how I had many points, many definitions about how I look. So then I really had to write them out, and when that was already the time when I knew Desteni and the tools of self-forgiveness, and how I can write out for myself the points that I see, so I just started to write, and like I said, I ask myself questions, why do I see myself as ugly without having hair, where did I come up with this thought, and so I just wrote, and then I wrote self-forgiveness on these points, and then I could say that I slowly explained to myself that I don't have to judge myself and really like make this something big in my head, So I just started to breathe and not go into thinking about how I look. And through time, when I applied this constantly and was breathing, not going into thinking and judging, then I, through time, managed to overcome this point. And so I am, I really don't judge myself so much that like I was before, like a few years ago, for example. So
Very
I
cool
would say,
point.
yeah, I would say that the most important point is to start looking at self and just start asking questions, how do I see myself, and why do I think this? Why do I perceive myself like this? And then you can apply self-forgiveness, like we you know, like you can, I mean, like you can go and see how this works in our blogs or in like Desteni I Process, for example. So
Very cool. I would say that you guys have really nailed the point here in terms of also how to support oneself. And I would say, in addition to also what has assisted me a lot, is to realize that, well, for everyone else it's the same. It's not about me personally, to get out of that isolated state of thinking that it's me, and seeing that, whoa, this is actually a system. It's actually systematized. It's built into the very system. That's strange. Why is that? You know, and how, for example, well, it keeps the consumer's wheel spinning, and you know, I'm just a cog in that wheel. And then also to consider, this was something that had quite a big impact on me, was, realizing that all this time and focus that I'm spending on worrying about this, and you know, trying to redeem myself or cope or survive in this system, that's like time I'm taking away from actually getting to know myself and becoming comfortable with myself and expressing myself. So that's also a point to consider. Guys, we have reached the limit, the end of our hangout. So I want to hear if you have any last words or tips or suggestions that you'd like to share for anyone out there who may be facing these exact same struggles that you have. Jürgen, let's start with you.
Yeah. So one point would be pushing, to push yourself. I realized, well, after looking at Gary's question, I was sort of reflecting how in the very early stages of going through this, there was a pushing that I had done, that if I hadn't pushed, then I wouldn't be standing where I am now, looking at, gone as far as I went as I did. So
very cool.
Yeah, pushing.
And Blash, any final words?
yeah, I would say that, you know, to really overcome such points, you have to firstly just, you know, decide or ask self, you know, do I really want to live like this? You know, do I want to constantly be afraid of, do I look right or good or not, or how do I look, and compare myself to others, you know? So, I mean, nobody really wants to live like that. So you have to just decide that you don't want to live like that, and then you can, you know, just go from that point on and just, you know, look for solutions. You know, what can I do about this point? So, I mean, but we already have like many solutions about how we can, you know, deal with this, with writing, with self-forgiveness, and you know. So if you really decide that you want to overcome this point, I would suggest to all to, you know, have a look at how maybe others have done it already, you know, through writing blogs, for example, or you can check out the Desteni I process and how you can apply the tools, you know, like self-forgiveness and self-honesty, and then you can really begin to transcend this point, you know, or any other point, basically.
Very cool. And I would also say, for me, this has really been a very strong point. It's very ingrained into our society. So to also be patient with yourself as you walk through it, because there may be many dimensions that you have to keep, you know, pushing, like Jürgen was saying. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who posted questions and comments. A little note for next week's Hangout. We have a new date, so the Hangout is this Sunday, the 14th. It's only for this coming Hangout, because our participants had to schedule it for that day. They weren't able to make it to a regular time. So it will be this coming Sunday, the 14th, at 8 p.m. UTC time. You can look that up on Google, what that is in your time zone. And so that means that the Hangout will be on Sunday, and there will be no Hangout next Thursday, so that you guys are all aware. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I forgot to mention that the Hangout on Sunday is going to be about Crohn's disease. So we're taking the physical body series in a completely different direction. Right. So thank you guys so much for being here, and we will be back on Sunday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.